Thank you. That's all I have.
Oh, all right. Then we thank you for your interaction. Aveo.
Hi, Bashar. I was wondering about a weird dream that I had where I was woken up in the middle of the night. And in the dream, I could hear a voice, but it was kind of far away. And the voice would say something, and I would repeat, and I would say something else, and I would repeat. And it was kind of coming closer and closer, almost to the point where I could grasp what it was saying. And right before that, I woke up to a pop or a burst at the end of my bed, and I could feel this pressure wave going through the room from the burst, and it had kind of an electrical energy that was coming from it. And I was wondering, can you tell me anything about what that was?
You are interacting with interdimensional beings, spirit guides, even your own higher mind more clearly. You are experiencing the shifting from one reality to another. There are many layers of reality to even what you call physical reality, all the way up to what you call the lower astral, non-physical reality. But sometimes when you experience a calling, when you make a connection to a being on another level of reality, a spirit guide, an extraterrestrial, a higher mind, whatever, you will experience that shift electrically. You will experience a surge of energy that you can interpret as electricity. So that is one way you will experience the idea that you're becoming more consciously aware of the shifting that you're already always going through when you shift from one reality to another billions of times per second. You'll get used to it. Good day, good day.
Hello. Nice to talk with you today, Bashar.
It is our passion and our pleasure to interact with you as well. What would you like to discuss?
Very briefly, I would like to talk about people who identify as wanderers.
Yes?
Um, you said they're kind of like people like to hop from party to party.
Sort of. They don't necessarily make a strong connection to any particular reality. They dip in, but remain mildly detached in a certain way, energetically speaking. So they don't necessarily have to succumb to all of the belief systems of that particular reality. They can observe, they can experience, but they don't get deeply invested in that reality. They're just sort of gathering information like a honeybee going from flower to flower.
Oh, got it. So is this kind of like in their soul blueprint or?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Understood. I also want to say thank you for all of the information and permission slips that you've delivered for about as long as I've been alive. So I've quite enjoyed acting on those.
All right.
And one of them, the cryptic meditation, I enjoy doing. And I kind of wanted to know the way that they go through, people or hybrids go through the 5 levels. They ingest divinorum. And I was
Yes.
wondering, as that's because that's necessary to go through the levels. But for a
For
human,
most, yes.
yeah,
There is no absolute equivalent for humans on your planet at this time, though there are components of it. The divinorum that is mentioned with regard to the hybrids in the future is altered specifically for their physiology. But the idea is that obviously versions of the concept exist in such teachers as ayahuasca and so on and so forth on your planet at this time.
right. So ingesting ayahuasca would greatly facilitate that process.
It can be done in other ways as well. But again, please do remember that it's not about necessarily always continuing to use that. It's about knowing that once you have that experience and you are practiced at it, that you can create that vibration without the teacher.
Absolutely. Thank you for that reminder.
Yes, yes.
So one of the other permission slips that it's been thrilling to work with is the crystal skull.
All right.
I've taken one and imbued it with the Mitchell Hedges skull. And I do believe I've had something like an out of body experience. And I was wondering, I didn't really, at the time, I think, get all of the information. So this is something that may be unraveling or unspooling over time.
Yes, all we can give you is the advice to practice, practice, practice.
Thank you. I will practice. Yeah, and I also travel with my skull. I call him Sherman. And so I've been taking him around to different portals and weaving that web that
All
you've
right.
spoken about.
Why that name?
Sherman?
Yes.
Um, it was something that came to me kind of, I don't know. It just was, it entered my brain, and I don't really know any Shermans. I'm not really sure specifically. If you have any insight, I would appreciate that.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Modesto, California.
Are there things that you enjoyed watching as a child?
Watching. I watched a lot of TV and movies.
Was there anything in particular that were your favorites?
As far as movies, I liked comedies.
Specifically, television shows or movies specifically,
Oh, X-Files. Probably cartoons.
such as?
I liked Disney movies a lot, like Alice in Wonderland. I would watch that one on repeat, Alice in Wonderland.
All right. Then you may use the vibration of Alice in Wonderland in your exploration with the crystal skulls to understand how to step through the looking glass.
I see. Okay.
You can be Alice.
I will be Alice.
All right. The skull can be the caterpillar.
Okay. Wonderful.
What is the question that the caterpillar asks Alice?
Who are you?
Exactly.
Okay.
So, practice, practice.
I will practice.
All right. Anything else?
I think that's all. Thank you so much, Bashar. I appreciate your reflection very much.
You are welcome. Aveo.
Aveo.
Hi, Bashar. Blessings to you and your family. I have a question. Wife and I are retiring in Philippines next year, and we'd like to build our house close to a vortex. I'm just wondering if there's any vortexes in Zambales, Philippines. That's just north of Manila. Thank you.
Yes, any major city is usually placed at least near, if not in, a major vortex instinctively by humans. That's why they build where they build. That's why they end up where they end up. However, we would suggest that the way things are transitioning, the way vibrations are changing on your planet, that the ones that are most effective are the natural sites around those vortices. So if you're in a more natural area around the main vortex of Manila, then that is more appropriate for you. Good day, good day, good day.
It's so nice to finally speak with you.
And you as well. What would you like to discuss?
I have two things. One is a question about my friend. He's very developed telepathically for over 10 years. He can talk to trees, to non-physical entities, anything. He spent a lot of time upgrading his core energy and everything, but he's burdened by tasks that come to him from higher beings all the time.
Why is that a burden?
Because physically his body is unwell like 90% of the time.
Perhaps they are helping him find his strength.
That's what I've been trying to tell him, to be honest. But it's been like 10 years and he's not feeling well almost all of the time.
We cannot help you with this. Not at this time. He has to rely on the help he's already getting from the other entities.
Thank you. That is still good information.
All right.
The second thing is about myself.
Yes.
So just before I ask my question, I just want to say you have my full permission to read anything on me.
We get our permission from many different levels of your consciousness, so don't worry about it.
Good. So I've managed to develop this, how do I say, power, where I can check things, which
You can what?
I can check for things in the future, or directly reading someone's, for example, vitamin levels, or
All right.
just for example, I knew I will interact with you days before the raffle.
All
I
right.
just checked it.
Yes, all right.
The way this power works is just sensing differences in density. That's all I can
Yes.
sense.
In frequency, yes.
And in the last 6 or 7 months, I had zero interest in developing it. And I really found I found real joy and peace living an ordinary life, like an ordinary human doing.
Yes, that can be done. That can be
all the
done.
little things.
Nothing wrong with that.
So my question is, I finally feel ready, completely ready to take the next steps on this power.
All right. We'll follow the formula and it will lead you to where you need to be.
That's what I thought you were gonna say. Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Okay.
It really is that simple.
I know. I truly understand it.
All right. Then what else do you need to know?
During the time I found joy in living as an ordinary human, I really, on multiple occasions, I felt like I lived enough, like I experienced everything an ordinary human could experience.
Well, then time to become an extraordinary human.
Exactly. So I have an invitation for a physical encounter.
Yes. All the invitations do exist, but we get to decide when it's appropriate to answer them.
Exactly. I don't need you to answer my invitation. I just wanted to offer it, and
your invitation is already received and it will be answered in the appropriate timing.
Great. Well, all I need to say now is that I have much affection for you, for Darryl, and for everyone involved in delivering your messages.
We thank you and our unconditional love to you. Aveo.
Aveo.
Good day to you, Bashar. My questions are, the first one is, when open or first contact occurs, the notion is that the ETs will bring about advanced medical technology, and I was just wondering if it's going to be that way, and or if they're actually going to remind us how it is that we can heal ourselves. My second question is, this summer I was outside looking at the stars a lot at night, and I noticed a lot of activity in a section of the sky where the Big Dipper is, in the open section of the ladle points out towards a part of the sky where there is a circle of stars. It's not a perfectly round circle, but I was just wondering if there's a portal of some sort in that area of the sky, and if you could just elaborate on what's going on in that area of the sky, if that is true. I am in Wendell, Idaho, if you're needing that for perspective of where I'm talking about. Thank you, and have a great day. Bye.
The answer to your first question is yes, to some degree you will be given information about the concept of vibrational and energy healing. There is a portal in the area in the sky that you are calling out. Because your senses have increased to the point where you can start to perceive such things, you were capable of perceiving it. And therefore that's what's going on. Your senses are expanding to where you can see things that were heretofore invisible to you. There's a lot of traffic around your world using different portals for transition between one reality and another, one dimension and another. And you're simply becoming more aware of that. That's what's going on.
Okay. And this person is asking, oh my goodness. You stated that all the agreements have been made pertaining to our personal encounters with ETs. So why do we work with permission slips for contact experiences? Are permission slips just speeding up the process for our agreements?
Yes, you still have free will in terms of how you experience the agreements. The fact that agreements have been made doesn't necessarily always mean that every single specific detail has been laid out. You are still allowed to determine for yourself through your free will exactly how you might want to go about experiencing that idea if such an agreement exists. So you can even change your mind and not experience the idea of the contact. The idea, again, is that your free will is respected in that context. So the agreements are fulfilled by various means. And yes, permission slips can, based on your belief systems, accelerate some of those things. Permission slips can, by various agreements, even slow down some of those things. So it's about how you want to go about fulfilling the agreement if you still wish to. The idea of your agreement to have contact with extraterrestrials is not quite the same as the idea of the agreements to experience certain things in your physical reality in terms of your lifetime, the things that are representative of your themes and your challenges. Experience and interactions with extraterrestrials can be folded in to the idea of some of the themes of your exploration, but by definition, we are a little bit outside your venue, outside the idea of your timeline, until such time as enough of you make an agreement that encounters with ETs actually are part of your overall agreement, your overall timeline. That's kind of what permission slips are all about, is getting you to a point, if you're so willing, where the idea of encounters with beings in other realities can actually be seen as part of your natural timeline, part of your natural agreement. So that's part of the process, and why sometimes permission slips can assist you in getting used to that idea and bringing our timelines and your timelines together in a single mutual shared timeline experience.
Okay, and this person is asking about the soul and the soul tribe. She says, I understand that we are eternal beings. Is our family, parents, kids, pets, etc., always going to be with us? Are we all part of a soul family and go through these experiences together?
Yes. Now, again, you can spin off and go have an adventure by yourself if you really wish to. That doesn't necessarily include the idea of other members of your soul family. But the idea is that you're still always connected and you'll always come back and recognize the family. So in a sense, yes, you're always connected. It doesn't mean you can't have your own independent adventures.
And this person is asking, what is the source of sadness and can it be avoided? Should we be striving for happiness or will it simply come to us if we follow the formula?
Sadness is the result of a belief and a definition of disconnection from source. Disconnection is the idea. If you understand you cannot be disconnected, you cannot feel sadness. So in the idea of creating certain limitations for yourself, for your consciousness to experience, including the experience of disconnection, even though you can never actually be disconnected from source, you can experience the idea of that disconnection as a kind of loss, and that can promote the experience of sadness. But yes, if you understand how the formula works and you apply it precisely, then you also have the understanding, based on knowing how things work, that you can never be disconnected. And thus there is no reason to experience sadness in that way. So by really precisely following the formula, it is highly unlikely for you to choose to experience sadness.
Okay, and this person is asking, basically, her daughter took her life 16 months ago. Was
Yes.
this in her contract? Was it meant to be? Is she okay? This person feels stuck and broken. How can she reconcile this nightmare? Please help me, I'm drowning.
All right. Well, take a deep breath. It's all right. Your daughter is fine. Once in spirit, remember, you see yourself for what you really are, who you've always been. So the idea is that she may have gone through her life review and realized that no, it's not necessarily a part of the contract to commit suicide in the way that most people on your planet commit suicide. The timing of your death is the timing of your death naturally. And committing suicide, in a sense, is a little bit like breaking the agreement. But the idea is that the soul learns from that experience and realizes that may not have been the ideal choice, realizes they may simply have not ever had the information required for them to make a different choice. But they're perfectly fine, absolutely eternal and indestructible, going through the life review to realize they could have done things in a different way, experiencing the effect that their suicide and the choices that they made to commit suicide have had on other people, including you, and therefore sending you love and letting you know that they may, in a sense, be sorry that they did that, for it was not their intention to make you experience the idea of grief over their commission of suicide. And now they know, in a sense, better from a different perspective, that that may not necessarily have been the ideal choice for them to make. But they send you love, unconditional love. They want you to know they are fine. You will meet them again. Again, everyone meets everyone. And again, they are learning a lesson that will allow them to make more positive choices in the future. So they're perfectly fine. Take a deep breath and allow yourself to let go of the grief, because the grief can get in the way of receiving communications and messages from your daughter to let you know she is perfectly fine.
Okay. And this question is, how is there such a thing as non-existence? Does anything not exist, or does everything exist? Is there nothing that doesn't exist? Does everything I can think of, every wild and ridiculous scenario, exist simultaneously in a parallel universe?
Yes, non-existence does not exist by definition. That's its quality, to not exist. That which exists cannot become non-existent because non-existence doesn't exist. So there's nowhere for that which exists to go. The idea of every wild idea you have being a reality somewhere, yes, that's true, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's a reality that is similar to your reality. Even the very idea that someone may have a wild idea and render it as a piece of artwork means it exists in some way, shape, or form, even if it exists in another form other than an actual expression of a living being. It still exists. So the idea is it exists in whatever is relevant for it to exist according to its own logic, its own context. But anything you can imagine in some way, shape, or form exists. It doesn't mean it's real in the same context that you consider yourself to be real, but it's real in the sense that it does exist in some form that's relevant for its context, for its reality. So even if it's something exists as an idea, even if something exists as a cartoon, it still exists in its own context. It doesn't mean it's flesh and blood like you are. But you cannot imagine non-existence. So everything you imagine does somehow, in some way, in some form, exists. And again, nothing that exists can become non-existent because non-existence by definition doesn't exist. That's its quality, to not exist.
This person had this dream, and in the dream, they were with some grays, and they were laughing and chatting about how scared the human race is of them. I remember telling them that they are great beings and there's nothing to be afraid of. Was this an actual interaction with them in the astral realm?
Yes.
Okay.
There is no more to be said. Yes, is the answer.
Okay. This question is, during a deep meditation moment, where I was in an endless library of information, I encountered another human that is well known, and we acknowledged each other's presence. Is it possible to encounter another human that may be aligning with the same frequency as you in a given moment?
Yes, of course. That's what it's all about. It's all about resonance. It's all about frequency. Someone who has an interest in similar things to you can wind up in a similar frequency, and you can cross paths with them, especially in the idea of other realms and other dimensions that are relevant for both of you to be experiencing simultaneously. So yes, of course it can happen that way.